Ever wonder what happened when American engineers decided to stuff massive engines into farm tractors? We're talking about the agricultural equivalent of muscle cars' raw power, innovative engineering, and machines so rare that spotting one today is like finding a needle in a haystack. These iron giants changed farming forever, pushing boundaries and breaking records. Number 9, Ford FW60. When Ford wanted to compete in the high horsepower market, they partnered with Steiger to create something extraordinary. The FW60 shattered expectations with 335 horses from its turbocharged Cummins 5.8 diesel engine, making it one of the most powerful tractors available in the late 1970s. This articulated four-wheel drive giant wore Ford's iconic blue and white colors proudly, even though Steiger built it in Fargo, North Dakota. The engineering was impressive from front to back. A massive 14.8-liter engine sat under a hood that hinged forward for maintenance access. The black-painted hood top reduced sun glare for operators working long days. Inside the standard cab, farmers found air conditioning, comfortable seating, and controls borrowed from Steiger's proven designs. The 225-gallon fuel tank meant fewer stops during marathon field sessions. What really set the FW60 apart was its sophisticated drivetrain. The heavy-duty drawbar attached to the front frame section rather than the rear, helping maintain traction by pulling the front wheels down under load. Operators could choose between 10-speed and 20-speed transmissions, while the optional hydrostatically driven PTO delivered smooth power to implements. Outboard planetary final drives handled the immense torque without breaking a sweat. The 1982 sticker price of $99,394 limited sales to large operations in the Great Plains and California. Ford marketed these as the big ones from Ford, emphasizing increased work rates over traditional two-wheel drives. Production ended when Ford's agreement with Steiger concluded, and Ford later partnered with Versatile for their articulated tractors. Today, finding an FW60 requires patience and deep pockets. These machines represent a unique moment when Ford reached for the stars in agricultural equipment. Collectors value them for their rarity, historical significance, and the sheer presence of 335 horses wrapped in Ford blue. For many enthusiasts, the FW60 symbolizes American agriculture's transition to truly massive machinery. Number 8, or Oliver. Super. 99 GM diesel. The Oliver Super 99 GM diesel sounded like nothing else working American fields in the 1950s. That distinctive two-stroke sound came from a General Motors 371 diesel engine, the same basic design that powered city buses and marine vessels. With twin air cleaner stacks jutting through the hood and that characteristic Detroit diesel whine, farmers could identify this tractor from a mile away. Oliver took a calculated risk using GM's two-cycle technology. The three-cylinder engine displaced just 213 cubic inches but produced 83.4 belt horsepower at Nebraska tests, significantly outperforming Oliver's conventional six-cylinder diesel that managed only 65 horsepower from 302 cubic inches. The secret was the two-stroke design, firing on every downstroke and requiring a roots-type blower for scavenging exhaust gases. This wasn't a turbocharger. For boost, it was essential for the engine to run. The rest of the tractor matched the engine's capabilities. A 6-speed transmission provided working speeds from 2.6 to 13.7 miles per hour. The independent 532 revolutions per minute PTO was optional, as was the belt pulley that attached directly to the PTO shaft. Oliver's marketing claimed it was the most powerful farm wheel tractor available, and in 1954, they had a strong case. The hydraulic system operated remote cylinders with 16-inch strokes, plenty for the era's implements. Farmers remained skeptical about the unconventional engine, limiting production numbers. Many worried about parts availability and unfamiliar maintenance requirements. The engine's 4.25-inch bore and 5-inch stroke dimensions were unique in agricultural applications. Despite its superior power to weight ratio, traditional four-stroke engines ultimately won the market. Modern collectors prize these tractors for their uniqueness and that unmistakable sound. Restored examples command $20,000 to $30,000, with exceptional units bringing more. Finding parts for the GM diesel requires creativity and connections in the marine and industrial engine communities. The Super 99 GM proved that agricultural innovation could come from unexpected sources, even if farmers weren't quite ready to embrace it. Before we move on to the next one in the list, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you're enjoying this content so far, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch these videos without subscribing. Imagine what we could accomplish if everyone subscribed. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. Thanks to all of you who do. Number 7. International Harvester 4300. International Harvester made history with the 4300. This 30,000-pound behemoth delivered 300 engine horsepower from its massive 817 cubic inch IHDT 817 turbocharged diesel. When Nebraska tested it, the 4300 produced 204 drawbar horsepower, numbers that seemed impossible just years earlier. Built by IH's Hoe division in Libertyville, Illinois, the 4300 borrowed heavily from construction equipment DNA. The FS100 axles came from House Pay Mover Airport tractor line, proven components that could handle extreme loads. The rigid frame design differed from later articulated tractors, but the 3 steering modes compensated brilliantly. Operators could select front-wheel steering for transport, 4-wheel coordinated steering for tight headland turns, or crab steering for hillside stability. No other tractor offered such versatility. The original manual transmission proved problematic under constant heavy loads, generating excessive heat that cooked operators' feet. Many units received field retrofits with Allison power shift transmissions, which used torque converters for starting loads, then locked up at operating speed. These modifications were done at IH's expense, showing their commitment to making the concept work. Unfortunately, the 4300 arrived before farmers were ready. The price approached $30,000 when most large 2-wheel drive tractors cost under $10,000. Implements capable of utilizing 200-plus drawbar horsepower barely existed. Total production reached just 44 units, with only 3 sold in Canada. Most ended up in industrial applications pulling scrapers rather than working fields. Today, the 4300 is a holy grail for collectors. Recent sales have ranged from $84,000 to asking prices of $185,000. These tractors proved that turbocharging could work in agriculture and that purpose-built 4-wheel drives had a future. The 4300's commercial failure was a timing issue, not an engineering one. Every modern high-horsepower tractor owes something to IH's bold experiment with forced induction and dedicated 4-wheel drive. Number 6. Case 1200 Traction King. Case approached the 4-wheel drive market differently than competitors who built massive, expensive machines. The 1200 Traction King aimed for practicality and affordability, using existing components to keep costs under $13,000. This philosophy made 4-wheel drive technology accessible to medium-sized farming operations for the first time. The foundation came from Case's W12 Terra loader, originally designed for construction work. Engineers added their proven 451 cubic inch turbocharged 6-cylinder diesel rated at 120 PTO horsepower. While this was one of the last Lenovo design engines Case produced, with side-mounted injectors and separate combustion chambers, it provided adequate power for the era. The turbocharging required compromises, including smaller exhaust valves which limited the engine's ultimate potential. Innovation came through the hydraulic steering system, offering unprecedented flexibility. Operators could select front-wheel steering for road travel, rear-wheel steering controlled by lever or pedal for loader work, coordinated 4-wheel steering for minimum turning radius, or crab steering for side slope operation. This versatility made the 1200 adaptable to various farm tasks beyond just heavy tillage. The 6-speed Clark transmission and Clark axles with double cardan joints proved reliable, though they were last-minute substitutions. When originally specified, Eaton units proved inadequate. Brakes mounted at the axle ends provided sure stopping power. Case marketed the 1200 as an 8-plow tractor, positioning it perfectly for farmers ready to expand but not ready for massive machinery. Production reached 1,549 units before Case introduced the improved 1470 with a direct injection 504 cubic inch engine producing 145 horsepower. Many 1200s found second careers in construction, their robust construction ideal for pulling scrapers and packers. Finding one today requires patience, as most were worked hard throughout their lives. The Traction King demonstrated that four-wheel drive didn't require enormous size or price tags. Case's practical approach influenced future designs industry-wide, proving that innovation sometimes means making existing technology accessible rather than pushing absolute limits. Number 5. Allis-Chalmers D21 Series 2 Turbo. Allis-Chalmers rewrote the row crop tractor rulebook when they turbocharged the D21 in 1965. The Series 2's 426 cubic inch direct injection diesel produced 127.6 PTO horsepower in Nebraska tests, making it the most powerful row crop tractor available. That Persian orange paint became synonymous with serious farming power throughout the late 1960s. The Series Mom, I had already broken the 100 horsepower barrier in 1963, but competition was heating up. The smaller 190 XT, with its 301 cubic inch engine, could be modified to outperform the naturally aspirated D21, which didn't sit well with Allis-Chalmers management. Their solution was elegant redesign the 426 for greater durability and add a turbocharger. The resulting Series 2 delivered 116 drawbar horsepower, enough to handle 6 bottom plows in most conditions. The Power Director transmission remained, though unlike smaller D-Series tractors, it wasn't designed for shifting on the go. This hand clutch gave operators precise control over power delivery, particularly useful when starting heavy loads. Combined with the turbo's instant response, the D21 Series 2 offered unprecedented control and power in a row crop package. Tractor pulling enthusiasts discovered these engines could handle significantly more boost than factory specifications. Modified D21s became dominant forces at pulling competitions, a tradition continuing today. The robust bottom end and efficient turbocharger setup made these tractors legendary for their tunability. Many farmers quietly turned up their injection pumps, gaining extra horsepower for tough conditions. Production totaled approximately 2,400 units before the 220 replaced it in 1970. Serial numbers 3001 through 5435 denote Series 2 models. Options included factory cabs, dual rear wheels, and various front-end configurations. Clean examples now bring $25,000 to $35,000 at auction, with low-hour cab-equipped models commanding premiums. The D21 Series 2 represents peak Allis-Chalmers engineering, when the company could compete with anyone in the horsepower race. Number 4. John Deere 8010 and 8020. John Deere's first four-wheel drive tractor was an ambitious disaster that taught valuable lessons. The 8010 debuted in 1960 with a General Motors 6 71 two-stroke diesel producing 215 horsepower, enough to make it competitive with established prairie giants. Weighing 20,000 pounds with a 120-inch wheelbase, this machine represented a massive departure from Deere's traditional two-cylinder tractors. Problems surfaced immediately. The Spicer transmission couldn't handle the torque, failing regularly and catastrophically. Drive shafts twisted, U-joints exploded, and final drives grenaded. Of approximately 100 units built, Deere recalled nearly all for extensive modifications. One story claims only one original 8010 escaped recall, now residing in a museum. The disaster cost Deere millions and nearly ended their four-wheel drive program. The 1964 redesign as the 8020 addressed most issues. A Detroit diesel 6V71 replaced the earlier engine, producing 227 horsepower with improved reliability. The drivetrain received substantial strengthening, including heavier shafts and upgraded transmissions. Despite improvements, Deere sold only about 65 model 8020 Keys. The $33,000 price tag, 8 times a new 4010's cost, scared away potential buyers. Technical specifications were impressive for 1960. The 8010 featured power steering, differential lock, and an advanced hydraulic system. The cab, though Spartan, protected operators from elements. The massive 23.126 tires provided flotation in soft conditions. Fuel capacity reached 150 gallons, necessary given the two-strokes thirst. The 8010 and 8020 experience proved invaluable for Deere's future four-wheel drive development. Lessons learned led directly to the successful 7020 and later Generation 2 models. Today, these tractors are extremely rare and valuable. Most 8010s were converted to 8020 specifications, making original 8010s virtually extinct. Collectors pay premium prices for these historical machines that represent John Deere's costly but necessary education in building giant tractors. Number 3. Caterpillar Challenger 65. Caterpillar revolutionized agriculture in 1987 with the Challenger 65, introducing the world's first rubber-tracked agricultural tractor. The mobile track system combined track flotation with wheeled tractor speed and versatility, creating an entirely new category of farm machinery. This wasn't just evolution, it was revolution. The heart was Caterpillar's 3,176 diesel engine, producing 270 horsepower with exceptional torque characteristics. The innovative track system used rubber belts with embedded steel cables running on a unique suspension system. Unlike steel tracks, these could travel on roads at up to 18 miles per hour without damaging pavement. The tracks provided 3,000 square inches of ground contact per side, distributing weight so effectively that ground pressure was lower than a human footprint. Performance advantages were immediate and dramatic. The Challenger 65 delivered 50% more drawbar pull than similarly powered wheeled tractors while reducing soil compaction. Operators could pull wider implements at higher speeds, dramatically increasing daily productivity. The suspended track system provided a smoother ride than wheeled tractors, reducing operator fatigue during long days. Initial farmer skepticism centered on the $150,000 plus price and concerns about track durability. Early adopters discovered tracks lasted 4,000 hours with proper maintenance, comparable to tire life but with superior performance. Replacement tracks cost about $15,000 per side, significant but justified by increased productivity. The cab featured full climate control, air ride seating, and excellent visibility. AGCO acquired Caterpillar's agricultural division in 2002, continuing Challenger development. The brand remains synonymous with track tractors worldwide. Original Challenger 65s are becoming collectible, particularly low-hour examples with complete service histories. These machines didn't just compete with wheeled tractors, they created an entirely new market segment. Every modern tracked agricultural tractor traces its lineage to Caterpillar's bold gamble with the Challenger 65. Number 2. Massey Ferguson 4880. During agriculture's darkest economic period, Massey Ferguson launched one of history's most powerful four-wheel drive tractors. The 4880's Cummins Fafiv 8 diesel produced 273 PTO horsepower, putting four-wheel drive power levels in a conventional tractor format. Built in Brantford, Ontario for North American markets, this machine defied conventional wisdom about power limitations. The 4880 succeeded by combining proven components with clever engineering. The Caterpillar 3208 V8 diesel was thoroughly tested in industrial applications. Massey Ferguson's engineers reinforced everything behind it: clutch, transmission, rear axle, and final drives were all oversized for reliability. The massive rear axles could handle dual wheels without modification, essential for transferring nearly 300 horsepower through two wheels. Weight distribution was critical. The 4880 tipped scales at over 20,000 pounds without ballast, with more weight on the rear axle than many tractors' total weight. Optional front weights and liquid rear ballast could push total weight past 30,000 pounds. Even with this mass, wheel slip remained problematic in heavy tillage. Operators learned to work at higher speeds with lighter draft loads, maximizing the V8's power characteristics. The cab reflected the tractor's premium status. Air conditioning, air ride seat, and full instrumentation came standard. The distinctive V8 exhaust note announced the 4880's presence long before it came into view. Fuel consumption was substantial, but farmers who needed this power had few alternatives without moving to more expensive, articulated four-wheel drives. Production ceased in 1985 as Massey Ferguson struggled financially. Exact production numbers remain unclear, but likely fewer than 500 units were built. The farm crisis meant few operations could afford or justify such powerful equipment. Today, finding a 4,880 requires patience and luck. These tractors represent the absolute pinnacle of two-wheel drive design, proving that conventional tractors could compete with four-wheel drives given enough engineering determination. Number 1. Allis-Chalmers 440. Allis-Chalmers didn't just chase big power, they wore it proudly. The 440 was one of the largest, most powerful, articulated four-wheel drive farm tractors mass-produced in America, built for AC by Steiger and Fargo and finished in Persian orange. Instead of a row crop lineage, it carried construction-grade bones and a Cummins VT 555 9.1-liter turbocharged V8, factory rated around 218 engine horsepower. Serious muscle for the mid-1970s and a clear signal that AC intended to run with the Prairie Giants. The heart of the machine was durability over drama. That Cummins V8 fed a heavy 10-speed drivetrain with outboard planetaries and beefy axles designed for continuous draft loads. Nebraska testing recorded approximately 165 drawbar horsepower and roughly approximately 190 PTO horsepower. Numbers that put the 440 squarely in big tillage country without leaning on myths or optimistic dyno chatter. No exotic intercoolers or carryover D21 blocks here, just a purpose-built V8 matched to a chassis meant to survive. Physics still had its say. Even at approximately 20,000 pounds bare, the 440 lived on weight, width, and traction management. Duals, and in some cases triples, liquid ballast, and iron hung where it counted to keep slip in check and turn horsepower into acres. In the right soils, it could pull serious bottoms at field speeds that made two-wheel drives look dated, and it did it all day with the steady, unmistakable V8 thrum that still draws crowds at shows. Operator environment was thoroughly 1970s high-spec, a roomy cab, air conditioning available, clear sight lines over a long hood, straightforward hydraulics sized for big implements, and controls laid out with the Steiger work ethic. Simple, serviceable, stout. Everything behind the bell housing was deliberately oversized clutch, gears, axles, and finals built to eat torque and ask for seconds. Rarity adds to the legend. With roughly 1,033 units produced across a short run, many worked hard and vanished, leaving survivors both collectible and conversation starting. The 440 stands as Allis-Chalmers' prairie statement piece, a true muscle tractor with Steiger DNA, Cummins lungs, and enough real-world pull to prove that the orange badge belonged on the biggest fields in America. These 10 muscle tractors represent more than just horsepower, they're monuments to American agricultural innovation. Each pushed boundaries, challenged conventions, and proved that farmers deserve the very best engineering could offer. While modern tractors have surpassed their power figures, nothing matches the raw mechanical character of these vintage giants. If you enjoyed discovering these rare iron horses, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Drop a comment about which muscle tractor impressed you most, or share your own memories of these legendary machines. Until next time, keep those vintage tractors running and that history alive.